The small planet of Viora spun quietly in the endless stretch of space. Its skies shimmered in soft violet and gold, and strange tall plants swayed gently in the wind. On this planet lived Leora, an alien of a species known for intelligence and long lives. Her skin glimmered faintly in sunlight, and her eyes reflected colors like water in sunlight. She lived alone in a house designed for comfort and efficiency, yet it felt too silent. The house had many rooms, each carefully arranged, each device working perfectly. Yet Leora often wandered from one room to another without purpose. She had learned long ago to take care of herself. Cooking, cleaning, maintaining her home, even making small robotic companions that would help with chores. They all were part of her daily routine. Still, a quiet emptiness lived inside her. Leora knew her species valued companionship, but for reasons she did not fully understand, no one had chosen her as a partner. She was clever, kind, and capable, but she felt something essential was missing. One morning, as violet sunlight poured into her kitchen, she placed a small tray of steaming food on the table and looked outside. Her eyes rested on the horizon, imagining what it might be like to have someone share this life with her. She had read and heard about humans from long-distance transmissions. Humans with their emotions, their laughter, their care for each other fascinated her. She watched how humans lived through the hollow broadcasts she intercepted from faraway space stations. She noticed the little things, how they smiled when someone else succeeded, how they held hands when afraid, how they laughed together even in difficult times. Leora began to imitate them. She prepared meals as humans would, placing small condiments on the table just so, imagining that someone might sit across from her and enjoy the food together. She cleaned her home not only for functionality, but with a sense of pride. As humans seemed to take joy in having a space to share, she even practiced speaking softly to her robotic pets, teaching them to respond to her words as humans might speak to children or friends. But she longed for more than imitation. She wanted real connection. She wanted someone to notice her efforts, to smile at her stories, to share the quiet moments of life. Every night she would look up at the stars and wonder if somewhere among them, humans might come to her world. She did not know why she felt drawn to them, but something in her heart told her that humans had the warmth she desired. It was on a day like any other that the human ship arrived. The vessel descended slowly through the violet skies, its metallic surface gleaming in sunlight. Leora watched from her balcony, her heart beating faster than usual. She had seen human ships on her hollow broadcasts, but seeing one up close was different. There was a sense of life, of purpose in the way the ship moved, and in the tiny figures walking on its deck. A small group of humans stepped out. Their movements were careful, respectful of the world around them. One of them, a man named Elias, seemed different from the others. His eyes were gentle and his steps deliberate yet relaxed. Leora found herself staring at him longer than was necessary, a strange feeling stirring inside her. She realized she wanted to know him, to understand him, to be near him. Over the next few days, she observed the humans from a distance. She watched how Elias spoke to his team with kindness and encouragement. He laughed when they made mistakes and celebrated when they succeeded. There was an ease about him, a warmth she had not seen in her species. She wondered if humans always carried this light inside them, this invisible connection that made them approachable, likable, and somehow complete. Leora decided to communicate. She sent carefully written messages using the interstellar translator. Expressing curiosity and admiration, she asked about human habits, their ways of caring for one another, and most importantly, their partnerships. Her messages were polite, filled with thoughtfulness, but they carried an undertone of longing she could not hide. To her delight, Elias responded. He was intrigued by her messages and agreed to visit her home. Leora prepared her house carefully, imagining what a shared meal might be like, how she could show the humans her daily routines, and how she might demonstrate the care she had cultivated over her long life. She polished the floors until they gleamed, arranged the plants to look as lively as possible, and prepared a simple meal in human style, warm, comforting, and shared in small portions. When Elias and his team arrived, Leora greeted them with nervous excitement. She felt a thrill she had never experienced with her own species, a mixture of hope, curiosity, and a deep yearning. She showed them around her home, explaining her routines and the purpose of her inventions. The humans were polite and genuinely interested. Elias asked questions not only about her technology, but about her feelings, her experiences, and her daily life. Leora realized that he was listening, truly listening, in a way no one else had. They sat together for the meal. Leora had prepared dishes she had seen humans enjoy in the broadcasts. She explained the ingredients, the steps she had taken to prepare them, and her attempts to follow human methods. Elias smiled, complimenting her work in a way that made her chest warm. She had not expected such approval. She had imagined humans as distant and different, but here he was, sharing her table, appreciating her efforts and responding with kindness. As the meal ended, Leora felt bold. She shared stories of her loneliness, of the ways she had tried to connect with life, and of her fascination with humans. She described the longing she felt, the emptiness she could not fill on her own, and her desire to understand human companionship more deeply. Elias listened without judgment, his eyes full of patience and curiosity. Humans choose love not because they must, but because they want to, he explained gently. We build partnerships through understanding, respect, and shared experience. It is not a rule or duty, but a choice we make every day. Leora considered his words carefully. She had not known that love and companionship were choices. In her species, bonds were often expected, arranged, or assumed. The idea that a partnership could be a deliberate mutual decision intrigued her. She realized that she did not merely want someone to share her home or her meals. She wanted a connection that was chosen, meaningful, and alive with understanding. Over the following days, Elias returned. They spent long hours together, exploring both Leora's home and the surrounding planet. He taught her small human games, simple ways to express feelings, and the significance of small gestures. A smile, a touch on the hand, sharing a quiet moment without words. Leora absorbed everything eagerly, practicing, experimenting, and learning. Each day her fascination grew, but so did her yearning. She wanted more than knowledge. She wanted the experience, the closeness, the warmth of being seen and chosen. One evening, as the twin moons rose over Viora's horizon, Leora spoke quietly. I do not know if it is possible for me to truly be like a human, but I wish to try. I wish to share my life, my routines, my home, my heart with someone who will choose me, as humans choose one another. Her voice trembled slightly, not with fear, but with hope. Elias nodded thoughtfully. The path you seek is not easy, but it is possible. The important part is that it is genuine. You do not need to be human. You need to understand what it means to connect, to choose, and to be chosen. Leora felt a warmth spread through her that she had never known. For the first time, she imagined a future where she was not alone, where her home was filled with conversation, laughter, and understanding. She imagined sharing meals not just as a routine, but as a celebration of life with someone who valued her presence. She imagined waking each day with the sense that she was seen, appreciated, and loved. That night, as she prepared for sleep, Leora felt a spark of excitement she had never felt before. She realized that her journey was only beginning. She had met humans, learned their ways, and begun to understand the meaning of partnership. She had felt the stirrings of hope, and with it, the possibility of fulfillment. Alone in her home, she smiled faintly, looking at the small robotic companions she had created. They could not love her in the way she desired, but soon perhaps someone could. Someone who chose her freely. Someone who could share life with her in a way she had only imagined. And so, under the soft, violet glow of Viora's twin moons, Leora's quiet life began to change. The loneliness that had filled her heart was no longer absolute. It was replaced with longing, yes, but a hopeful longing. A yearning that promised growth, connection, and the possibility of a bond unlike any she had known before. She was no longer just an alien housewife. She was a being reaching for understanding, for companionship, and perhaps for love itself. Days passed on the quiet planet of Viora, but for Leora time felt different. Each sunrise brought a new sense of anticipation. She awoke earlier than usual, her thoughts filled with Elias and the human ways he had shared with her. She found herself eager to learn more, to understand how companionship worked in human culture, and to experience the small joys of life with someone who truly cared. Elias had begun visiting more often. He did not come as a visitor simply observing, but as a participant engaging with Leora in conversation, activities, and experiences. Leora had prepared a special room for their time together, a place filled with light, plants, and small comforts she thought humans might enjoy. She decorated it simply but thoughtfully, arranging cushions, a table, and small items that reflected both human and alien culture. She wanted him to feel welcome, as though he were not just a guest but a friend who could be part of her life. On one morning, Elias arrived with a small basket of items he had brought from his ship. Leora looked at him curiously. The basket contained simple things: a small notebook, colored pens, a set of human puzzles, and a few books filled with stories and human expressions of emotion. He smiled as he handed the basket to her. "I thought we could explore human creativity together," he said. "It is not only about learning but about sharing and enjoying these things with someone." Leora carefully opened each item. She felt a thrill she had never experienced with her own species. The notebook became a place for her to write her thoughts, her dreams, and even her questions about humans. The puzzles challenged her mind but also became a fun activity she could share with Elias. And the books, oh, the books. They were filled with stories of humans experiencing friendship, care, and love. She read each one with eagerness, and often she would read passages aloud to Elias. Elias listened patiently, commenting on the stories, asking questions, and sharing his own experiences. Leora realized that humans did not just experience life, they reflected on it, discussed it, and learned from it. This fascinated her. Her own species was logical and precise, but humans seemed to live with a kind of emotional richness that was new to her. She found herself yearning to understand more deeply, not only about Elias, but about what it meant to be chosen, to be seen, and to be appreciated. They spent many hours together. Some days they practiced cooking human meals, laughing at mistakes and celebrating small successes. Other days they wandered outside, exploring the unusual plants, hills, and rivers of Viora. Elias explained how humans often shared walks not just to go somewhere, but to connect, to talk, and to simply enjoy the presence of another being. Leora found herself treasuring these moments. Each conversation, each shared activity, felt like a bridge connecting her world to his. One evening, as the twin moons rose over the horizon, Leora found herself speaking more openly than ever. "Elias," she said quietly, "I have been alone for so long. I do not know if my desire is normal for my species, but I wish to have a connection, like humans do. I want to share my life with someone who will choose me, not because it is expected, but because they want to." Elias nodded, understanding the depth of her words. "That is the essence of human companionship," he explained gently. "It is a choice. It is not about duty or obligation, but about mutual understanding, care, and respect. It is about growing together and finding joy in each other's presence." Leora absorbed his words. They were not new words, but now they carried weight. She realized that her longing was not a weakness but a signal, a deep emotional desire to grow and connect in a way she had never experienced before. She wanted to be a human-style partner, not by imitating humans superficially, but by understanding their emotions, choices, and ways of living together. The following days were filled with experiments in companionship. Leora tried different ways of expressing care, preparing meals with thoughtfulness, arranging the house for comfort, and creating little surprises for Elias. He, in turn, shared human habits, how they expressed gratitude, how they offered support when someone felt sad, and how laughter could lighten even difficult days. Leora found these lessons fascinating, and she practiced diligently. She realized that care and love were not just emotions, they were actions, choices, and consistent behaviors. One afternoon, they sat together by a small river near Leora's home. The water reflected the sky, and the soft rustling of leaves made the moment peaceful. Leora spoke with a mix of hope and nervousness. "Elias, I have been learning about humans, their ways, and their partnerships. I feel ready to ask something, even though it may be strange. I want to be a human-style partner, a wife. Will you help me understand what that truly means?" Elias looked at her with kindness. "Leora, it is not strange. It is brave to express your desire openly. A human partnership is not about following rules, but about choice, understanding, and connection. We can explore it together, but you must remember it is not a single step. It is a journey of sharing life, emotions, and experiences." Leora nodded. She felt a mixture of relief and excitement. She had been dreaming of this for so long. imagining a life filled with understanding and companionship. Now she had someone who could guide her, not by forcing her into human norms, but by helping her discover the essence of partnership in a way that respected both her nature and the human way. The weeks that followed were filled with small, meaningful experiments. They created traditions together, simple rituals like sharing a meal at sunset, exchanging stories from their respective cultures, and learning each other's favorite activities. Leora learned that human companionship was not about grand gestures, but about consistency, thoughtfulness, and mutual care. Elias also helped Leora understand the importance of choice. He explained that a partnership required willingness, trust, and honesty. You cannot simply perform actions to imitate humans, he said. You must feel them, understand them, and choose to do them because it matters to you and to the person you care about. Leora began to reflect deeply. She realized that her desire to be a human-style partner was not about following instructions. It was about being true to her own heart, while learning the ways of another species. She experimented with emotions she had never fully recognized before: empathy, patience, joy in giving, and even playful teasing. Each new feeling was exciting, sometimes confusing, but always enriching. One day, as they prepared a simple meal together, Leora looked at Elias and spoke softly. I have been alone for so long, creating routines and caring for myself. But now I feel a part of something greater. I feel hope and I feel connection. I want to continue learning, living and growing with someone who chooses me. Elias smiled warmly. Leora, that is exactly what human companionship is. It is a journey of discovery, sharing, and choice. You are already on the path, and every day we spend together is a step forward. Leora felt her chest swell with happiness. For the first time, she did not feel lonely. She felt engaged with life, curious and hopeful. She realized that learning about humans was more than imitation. It was about experiencing emotions, understanding the depth of choice, and sharing life meaningfully with someone. As the twin moons of Viora rose once again, Leora sat quietly thinking about the days ahead. She understood now that being a human-style partner was not simply about a title or ceremony. It was about learning, practicing, and experiencing connection. It was about trust, patience, and joy in shared moments. And most importantly, it was about choosing and being chosen with sincerity. She looked at Elias, who was adjusting a small lamp near the table. She felt gratitude for his patience, his kindness, and his willingness to guide her. She realized that the bond they were forming was not just about her desire to be a partner. It was about the growth and understanding that came from sharing life with another being. For the first time in her long life, Leora felt a sense of completeness that was not dependent on perfection, status, or achievement. It was a quiet, profound understanding that connection, choice, and care were at the heart of meaningful companionship. She smiled softly, knowing that her journey was only beginning, but feeling a warmth that would carry her forward. And so, on that quiet planet with violet skies and gentle winds, Leora's life became richer. Her home, once silent and orderly, now hummed with the potential for shared experiences. Each day brought new lessons, laughter, and discoveries. She realized that longing was no longer a source of sadness. It was a guiding light, leading her toward connection, understanding, and the human-like companionship she had always dreamed of. The future was open, filled with hope, choice, and the promise of shared life. Leora was no longer simply an alien living alone. She was a being ready to experience the fullness of connection, the joy of being chosen, and the warmth of companionship that transcended species. The lonely housewife had taken the first steps on a journey that could transform her life forever, and the days ahead glimmered with endless possibilities. The days on Viora grew warmer, and the soft violet light of the twin moons filled Leora's home in the evenings. Each day, she and Elias shared more of their lives with each other. What had begun as curiosity had deepened into friendship, and that friendship was evolving into something richer. Leora felt a mixture of excitement and nervousness each time Elias arrived. She wanted to express herself fully, to share all of her thoughts and feelings, but sometimes she worried that her desires might seem strange to him. One morning, Leora prepared a special breakfast. She carefully selected ingredients that she had learned humans liked: sweet fruits, soft bread, and warm tea. She arranged them on the table with extra care, placing small flowers she had grown in a pot beside the plates. When Elias arrived, he smiled warmly. "You have outdone yourself again, Leora," he said. "It looks wonderful." As they sat together enjoying the food, Leora spoke more openly than she had before. "Elias, I have been thinking a lot about what you said, about choice, understanding, and connection. I want to ask something very important, and I hope it will not seem too sudden." Elias looked at her with gentle encouragement, nodding for her to continue. "I wish to be a human-style partner," she said softly. "I want to learn what it truly means to be a wife, not because it is expected of me, but because I wish to share my life with someone who chooses me, as I choose them." She paused, watching his expression carefully. "I know it may be unusual for my species, but I feel this deeply in my heart." Elias took a moment before responding. He wanted to honor her feelings and also guide her in understanding what human companionship truly meant. "Leora," he said thoughtfully, "it is brave of you to express your desire. Being a human partner is not about following rules or traditions blindly. It is about understanding each other, sharing life, and choosing to care for one another every day. It is not a title, it is a journey." Leora listened carefully. She realized that being a partner was not something to be demanded or received instantly. It was something to experience, understand, and grow into. The journey required patience, awareness, and a willingness to embrace both joy and challenges. She felt a sense of determination rise within her. She wanted to learn, to grow, and to understand everything about the bond she longed for. In the following days, Elias guided Leora through deeper lessons of companionship. They explored the importance of empathy, of noticing small needs, and of supporting each other in everyday life. Elias explained how humans express care through words, actions, and attention. "Sometimes," he said, "it is the little things that matter most. A kind word, a shared laugh, or simply being present with someone can mean more than any grand gesture." Leora practiced diligently. She tried to anticipate Elias's preferences and moods, not to impress him, but to genuinely care for his comfort and happiness. She discovered that the act of thinking about someone else's needs brought a strange joy she had never felt before. It was as if her heart expanded with each act of consideration, each moment of shared laughter, and each small success in understanding human emotion. One afternoon, they sat in Leora's garden. She had planted flowers that grew in colors humans found beautiful, and the air was fragrant with their blossoms. Leora spoke, her voice soft and reflective. "Elias, I realize now that being a human-style partner is more than sharing a home or doing tasks. It is about understanding emotions, choosing to care, and creating a life together. I want to practice this fully even if it takes time." Elias smiled, impressed by her insight. "Exactly, Leora. It is a living experience. There is no rush. What matters is sincerity, patience, and joy in each other's presence. You are already learning, and that is the most important part." Leora felt a mixture of relief and excitement. For the first time, she did not feel pressured to become perfect immediately. She understood that her journey was about learning and experiencing, not reaching a fixed goal. She was eager to continue, to discover the subtleties of care and to build the emotional bond she had always longed for. They spent time together in many ways. They prepared meals not only to eat but as a shared activity, laughing over small mistakes and celebrating small successes. They took walks, talking about hopes, dreams, and stories from their lives. They played simple human games, discovering the fun in cooperation, gentle competition, and shared joy. Each day brought new experiences and understanding. One evening, as the twin moons rose over Leora felt a deep urge to express herself further. "Elias," she said quietly, "I have learned so much about humans and companionship, but I still feel something is missing. I want to fully experience the bond I dream of. I want to share not only my home and my routines, but my heart and life completely with someone who chooses me. I am ready to take the next step if you will guide me." Elias looked at her thoughtfully, sensing the sincerity in her voice. "Leora, I can guide you, but the next step is not about rules or titles. It is about commitment, trust, and understanding. Being a partner means choosing to share life, emotions, and experiences freely every day. It is about connection, not ceremony." Leora nodded. She realized that her longing was not only about being chosen, but also about understanding what it meant to truly belong in someone's life. She wanted to create a bond that was mutual, meaningful, and based on respect, care, and shared joy. The idea that she could experience this fully with Elias filled her with hope and excitement. They began experimenting with small acts of partnership. Leora learned to notice subtle signs of Elias's mood and respond with kindness and attention. Elias encouraged her to express her own feelings openly, showing her that human companionship was a two-way path of understanding. They discovered the importance of communication, honesty, and sharing both simple joys and small worries. Leora found these lessons transformative. She realized that being a partner was not about imitation or perfection. It was about presence, attentiveness, and the willingness to grow together. Each moment spent in shared understanding strengthened her confidence and deepened her longing for a meaningful bond. One afternoon, as they worked together in her home, Leora paused and looked at Elias with a quiet seriousness. "I know I am still learning, but I want to ask something," she said. "I wish to be considered your partner in a human way. I do not want to rush, and I understand it is a journey. But I want you to see me as someone who chooses and desires this connection, as much as I hope to be chosen in return." Elias was moved by her sincerity. "Leora," he said gently, "you have already shown understanding, care, and the willingness to grow. That is the essence of partnership. Choosing someone is about observing their actions, their intentions, and the way they treat you. I see all of that in you." Leora felt warmth spread through her chest. For the first time, she sensed that her longing was recognized, her efforts appreciated, and her journey supported. She understood that being a partner was not about perfection or ceremony, but about consistent, genuine care and shared experience. The days that followed were filled with continued learning and joyful moments. Leora and Elias experimented with new routines, preparing meals together, sharing stories, exploring the planet, and celebrating small achievements. They laughed often, supported each other through challenges, and discovered the beauty in simple acts of kindness. Leora felt her heart expanding with each day, as she learned the depth of human companionship. As the twin moons of Viora rose once again, Leora sat quietly in her home. She reflected on how far she had come, from loneliness and longing to understanding, learning, and forming a genuine bond. She realized that her heart no longer ached with emptiness. Instead, it thrived with hope, connection, and the possibility of sharing life with someone who truly understood her. For the first time in her long life, Leora felt complete in a way she had never imagined. She knew the journey was not over, that every day would bring new lessons and experiences, but she was ready. She had discovered that the essence of companionship was choice, care, and mutual understanding. She had learned that being a human-style partner was not a goal to achieve, but a life to experience. And so, under the soft violet glow of Viora's twin moons, Leora's quiet house became alive with warmth, curiosity, and connection. Her heart, once lonely, now carried the promise of shared life, laughter, and emotional closeness. The journey toward being a human-style partner had begun, and she embraced it fully with hope, patience, and love in her heart. Leora was no longer simply an alien living alone. She was a being learning to share life deeply, to choose and be chosen, and to experience the extraordinary richness of companionship. The lonely housewife was transforming into someone ready for the joys and responsibilities of partnership, and the days ahead shone with endless possibilities. Lyra looked out of her Starcraft's viewport as the familiar blue and crystal towers of Xylaria came into view. The city shimmered in the light of its sun, the towers reflecting colors that seemed to change with every movement of the clouds. She felt a mix of emotions, excitement, nervousness, and a quiet pride. After everything she had experienced, she was returning not as a broken diplomat, but as someone renewed, someone stronger, and someone who had learned the true value of trust and connection. Ethan sat beside her, quietly observing the planet below. He had been her companion for months now, traveling through unknown space, sharing discoveries, and exploring new worlds. He had shown patience, kindness, and understanding in ways Lyra had never imagined. She felt a deep sense of gratitude for him, and even more, a quiet certainty that she did not want this journey to end. Not yet. As the Starcraft descended through the city's shimmering atmosphere, Lyra felt her heart race. The memories of Valen's betrayal were still there, a faint shadow in the back of her mind. But they no longer weighed her down. She had grown through her experiences, learned the strength of her own resilience, and discovered the healing power of trust, friendship, and companionship. The landing platform glowed softly as her ship touched down, Officials and citizens of Xylaria were present, curious to see her return. Lyra stepped out, the light of the crystal towers reflecting on her calm but determined face. She felt the eyes of the city upon her, and though a small wave of nerves passed through her, it was accompanied by confidence and clarity. Ethan followed her out of the starcraft, his presence calm and reassuring. Together they walked through the crowds. Lyra could feel the subtle energy of the Lorelians around her, the way they sensed her emotions and intentions. But this time, instead of feeling anxious or judged, she felt connected. She realized that her journey had changed her. She was no longer defined by the betrayal she had endured. She was defined by her courage, her compassion, and her openness to new experiences. Lyra made her way to the council chamber, where leaders of Xylaria awaited her report. She stood confidently before them, her voice steady as she spoke. She recounted her journey through the Andary Belt, the planets she had visited, and the phenomena she had witnessed. She spoke of the lessons she had learned about trust, empathy, and the value of unexpected friendships. Her words resonated with the council. They saw the change in her, not just her knowledge of distant worlds, but the wisdom she had gained through experience. She spoke of cooperation, of learning from others, and of embracing differences to build a stronger, more connected Xylaria. Her message was clear. The galaxy was vast and full of possibilities, and true strength came not from control or power, but from understanding and kindness. When she finished, a respectful silence filled the chamber. Then, one by one, council members nodded in agreement. They understood that Lyra had returned not only as a diplomat, but as an example of resilience, courage, and wisdom. She had faced betrayal and fear, yet she had grown stronger, and she had brought back lessons that would guide their people into the future. After the meeting, Lyra walked with Ethan through the city streets. Citizens greeted her warmly, curious about her travels and eager to hear her stories. Lyra shared her experiences with simple honesty, describing the wonders of the universe, the people she had met, and the lessons she had learned. The people listened intently, inspired by her openness and courage. As they strolled, Lyra realized how much she had changed. She no longer carried the heavy weight of suspicion or fear. She had learned that kindness, patience, and understanding could heal wounds, rebuild trust, and open the heart to new possibilities. She had learned that even after betrayal, it was possible to find connection, friendship, and love. Ethan walked beside her quietly, observing the city with curiosity. "Your people are remarkable," he said. "They are thoughtful, empathetic, and resilient. I am honored to be here with you sharing this experience." Lyra smiled at him. "And I am grateful for you, Ethan. You have shown me the universe in ways I never imagined. You have taught me about trust, patience, and the beauty of kindness. I would not have discovered all this without you." Ethan reached out gently, taking her hand. "And I am grateful for you, Lyra. You have shared your knowledge, your courage, and your heart. Together we have discovered more than just new worlds. We have discovered the strength and beauty within ourselves." Lyra felt a warmth spread through her chest. It was a quiet, steady feeling, unlike anything she had experienced before. It was not just affection or admiration. It was a deep connection built on trust, shared experiences, and mutual respect. She realized that her feelings for Ethan had grown into something she could no longer ignore. It was love, gentle but certain, rooted in the bond they had forged through their journey. As the days passed, Lyra and Ethan continued to explore Xylaria. She introduced him to her friends and colleagues, sharing the beauty of her homeworld and the wonders of her people. Ethan, in turn, shared stories of humanity, describing how humans approached life with curiosity, creativity, and joy. The people of Xylaria listened, fascinated by the tales, and they welcomed Ethan warmly, sensing the genuine bond he shared with Lyra. One evening, Lyra and Ethan stood atop a crystal cliff overlooking the city. The sun was setting, casting a golden glow across the towers and streets below. The light reflected in Lyra's eyes, and she felt a quiet happiness she had never thought possible after her betrayal. "Do you ever think about what the future holds?" Lyra asked softly, her gaze on the horizon. Ethan smiled, taking her hand gently. "I think the future is full of possibilities," he said. "And I think we can face it together, learning, exploring, and supporting each other. Whatever comes, we will face it side by side." Lyra felt her heart swell with a deep, steady joy. She realized that she had found something rare and precious, a connection that transcended worlds, a bond built on trust, understanding, and shared wonder. She had feared love and trust, but now she embraced them fully, knowing that they were possible even after heartbreak. As the stars began to appear in the sky, Lyra leaned closer to Ethan. "Thank you," she whispered, "for showing me that even after betrayal, the universe can bring light, friendship, and love." Ethan's smile was gentle and warm. "And thank you, Lyra, for trusting me, for sharing your heart, and for letting me be a part of your journey. We have both grown, and we have both discovered something beautiful." They stood together, hands intertwined, watching the twin moons rise above the city. The air was calm, the light soft, and the world felt alive with possibility. Lyra knew that her journey was not over, that there were still wonders to discover, lessons to learn, and experiences to share. But for the first time, she did not feel fear or doubt. She felt hope, courage, and the quiet certainty of love. In the following weeks, Lyra resumed her work with renewed energy and perspective. She helped guide Xylaria in sharing knowledge and cooperation with other worlds, encouraging empathy, understanding, and openness. She used her experiences to teach others about resilience, trust, and the importance of connections beyond one's immediate world. And throughout it all, Ethan remained by her side. Together they explored the galaxy, discovered new worlds, and shared moments of quiet wonder. Their bond deepened, not through grand gestures, but through simple acts of care, understanding, and shared experiences. They laughed, learned, and grew together, each day reinforcing the connection that had begun in the quiet reaches of space. Lyra often reflected on the journey that had brought her here. She had come from betrayal, hurt, and doubt, feeling alone and wary of the universe. But through trust, patience, and the guidance of a kind and compassionate companion, she had found healing, joy, and love. She realized that even after pain, life could offer something extraordinary, a connection that transcended worlds, a friendship that became love, and the understanding that the universe was full of wonder, waiting to be embraced. On one quiet evening, Lyra and Ethan stood on a balcony overlooking the city. The towers glimmered in the soft moonlight, and the streets below hummed with life. Lyra took a deep breath, feeling the calm and warmth of the moment. "Do you think," she asked softly, "that this is what happiness feels like?" Ethan squeezed her hand gently. "Yes," he said. "Happiness is not about perfection or being free of challenges. It is about connection, understanding, and the ability to embrace life together. And I think we have found it." Lyra smiled, feeling a peace she had never known. She leaned her head against Ethan's shoulder, letting the quiet of the night wrap around them. The stars twinkled above, distant yet familiar, like reminders of all they had discovered and all that was still to come. For the first time, Lyra felt completely whole. She had faced betrayal, loneliness, and doubt, but she had grown stronger, wiser, and more compassionate. She had discovered the power of trust, the beauty of understanding, and the depth of connection that could exist between beings from different worlds. And she had found love, quiet, steady, and profound in the most unexpected place. With the human who had saved as the night deepened, Lyra and Ethan stood together, looking at the stars and imagining all the adventures still ahead. They had found not only each other, but a shared vision of the universe, one filled with wonder, learning,